Darkness's Faint Light, Leah's Redemption and Revenge. Chapter 1, The Winter of Fate. Winter in Northern California always comes with biting sea winds, the piercing cold pricking the skin like countless tiny needles. Leah pulled her faded old jacket tight around herself, standing beneath the bare oak tree at the town's edge, her eyes vacant as she stared at the gray coastline in the distance. Just yesterday, the neighbors had carried her grandfather's coffin to the cemetery on the outskirts of town, and now, she had become the so-called omen of misfortune in everyone's mouths. That's her, the one who killed her parents, and now she's killed her grandfather too. Anyone who gets close to her is doomed. Don't let her step into our house. What if she brings that bad luck in? I heard when her parents died, she didn't even shed a single tear. What a cold-blooded girl. The neighbors' whispers surged over Leah's heart like icy waves, again and again. She wasn't cold-blooded, her grief was just too heavy, so heavy it had drained her of even the strength to cry. The memory of her father being crushed by a falling container while operating a crane at the San Francisco port still haunted her dreams, the twisted metal wreckage, the shrill alarm, and the complicated glint that had flashed in her mother's eyes when she received the $500,000 compensation, all etched into her mind like brand marks. Her mother had said she was going to Los Angeles to find distant relatives, telling Leah to stay home and focus on her homework. But once she left, she never came back. Leah waited day after day, her feelings shifting from initial anticipation to anxiety, then finally to despair. She had walked back and forth along the highway at the town's edge, hoping to see her mother's familiar car, but each time, she returned alone to the empty cabin, the cold wind cutting through her. When her grandfather took her in, she thought she had finally found someone to rely on. Her grandfather was a man of few words, but he always set steaming bowls of baked beans and toasted bread in front of her, and gently tucked her in at night when she kicked off the covers. But that warmth didn't last long. One morning early the next year, her grandfather never opened his eyes again. At the funeral, Leah met her distant cousin from Sacramento for the first time. He wore a faded denim shirt, his face lined with weariness. Looking at Leah huddled in the corner, he sighed heavily, "Poor child, come with me." Leah had no idea why her cousin was willing to take her in, or even which neighborhood in Sacramento he lived in, or who else was in his family. But in this cold, cruel world, this was the only lifeline extended to her. She had no reason to refuse. Chapter 2, The Warm Sun in Life. Her cousin's house was a two-story detached home with a small yard on the outskirts of Sacramento. Standing at the door, Leah tensed up, lowering her head and clutching the hem of her clothes tightly. When her cousin's wife opened the door and saw her, the smile on her face vanished instantly. She ignored Leah's greeting and turned to walk back inside. Her cousin smiled awkwardly, about to explain, when they heard the sound of quick footsteps, thump, thump, thump coming from inside. Then, a small head with pigtails appeared in Leah's line of sight, round cheeks, big blue eyes, like a doll come to life. "Are you Leah's sister?" The little girl giggled, reaching out to take Leah's hand. "Hurry inside, sister, don't stand at the door. I prepared a gift for you." This little girl was her cousin's daughter, Emily. Leah followed Emily inside, and Emily chattered away as she led her around the house, showing her every corner. Finally, she pulled Leah to a door on the second floor. "Sister, this is the room I fixed up for you. Look, I gave you my favorite Barbie doll." The room was small but spotlessly clean. A pink Barbie doll sat on the desk, and a few Disney cartoon stickers were pasted on the wall. Looking at everything before her, Leah's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Since her father died, she had never felt such warmth again. By dinner time, her cousin's wife was still hiding in her room, sulking. Emily ran inside again, grabbing her mother's arm and shaking it. "Mom, sister just got here, you're being rude. You ungrateful little thing. All your things are going to be taken away, and you think I'm doing this for myself?" Her aunt snapped. "I don't mind sharing with sister." Emily looked up, her face serious. Her aunt glared at Emily, then frowned at Leah, as if appraising an object. After a long moment, she finally relented. Let's eat. At the dinner table, Emily kept piling roasted potatoes and fried steak onto Leah's plate, chattering about funny things that had happened at school, like winning the jump rope contest in PE class, or having her painting hung on the classroom wall by the art teacher. The awkward atmosphere was replaced by liveliness, all thanks to her. Leah ate slowly, her heart warm. For the first time in her life, someone cared about her like this. After dinner, Leah hurried to clear the table and wash the dishes. When she finished, she stood at the kitchen door, hesitating whether to mop the floor or do the laundry too. Her cousin waved a hand. Don't bother, from now on, treat this like your own home. Leah nodded but still stood rooted to the spot. She knew her cousin was being polite, but she didn't want to be a burden. She couldn't take his kindness for granted. Emily nudged her mother secretly. With a helpless sigh, her aunt got up and fetched a new set of pajamas and toiletries for Leah. The hot water's ready. Go take a bath and change your clothes. You've been traveling all day, get some rest early. This unexpected kindness made Leah's tears spill over. Afraid she wouldn't be able to hold them back, she hurried to the bathroom, her head down. The hot water cascaded over her body, washing away the tiredness of the journey and warming her cold skin. When she came out of the bathroom, her cousin and his wife had already gone to their room. Emily was sitting on the sofa, swinging her legs as she waited. Seeing Leah, she ran over with a plate of sliced strawberries. Sister, eat the strawberries. I picked the sweetest ones just for you. Leah took the plate. Looking at the lovely Emily in front of her, she couldn't hold back her emotions any longer and burst into tears. Emily set the plate down, climbed onto the stool next to Leah, and hugged her head like a little adult. Don't cry, sister. Mom's just tough talking, she's actually the best mom in the world. From now on, this is your home, and we're all family. Leah leaned against Emily, sobbing even harder. In that moment, she finally felt like she had a home. Chapter 3, Days of Warmth. In the days that followed, Leah gradually adjusted to life with her cousin's family. Her cousin helped her transfer to a nearby public school, and she cherished this opportunity, studying hard every day and soon becoming one of the top students in her class. After school, she took the initiative to help her aunt with housework, sweeping the floor, washing dishes, doing laundry, managing everything neatly and efficiently. Emily loved spending time with Leah. Every day after school, she would tell Leah about her day at school and ask Leah to help her with her homework. Leah loved this lively, sweet little sister too. She patiently explained problems to her and played Nintendo games with her. Her aunt's attitude toward Leah softened little by little. At first, she only spoke to Leah occasionally, but later, she began taking Leah to the mall to buy new clothes, and when Leah was sick, she made chicken soup for her and helped her take medicine. Leah knew, her aunt had truly accepted her. One day, as soon as Leah walked in the door after school, Emily covered her eyes. Sister, I have a surprise for you. Emily pulled Leah into the living room and let go. When Leah opened her eyes, she saw her cousin and his wife carrying a chocolate cake with 15 candles stuck in it. Happy birthday, Leah, they said in unison. Leah froze. She had never known her own birthday as a child. Her father had worked at the port all year round, and her mother had never celebrated it with her. Looking at the cake in front of her, tears again streamed down her face. Hurry, make a wish and blow out the candles. Her aunt set the cake in front of Leah, her voice gentle. Leah clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and made a wish. May my uncle, aunt, and Emily always be healthy and happy. May we stay together as a family forever. After blowing out the candles, her aunt cut Leah the biggest piece of cake. Child, you've suffered so much these years. From now on, this is your home, and we're all your family. Leah took a bite of the cake. The sweet taste spread in her mouth, and warmth filled her heart. She knew, this was one of the happiest moments of her life. Chapter 4, The Launch of a Dream. Time flew by, and before she knew it, Leah had graduated from high school. With her excellent grades, she was admitted to the law school at the University of California, Berkeley. On the day she received her acceptance letter, her cousin and his wife were overjoyed. Her aunt cooked a feast, roast turkey, apple pie, and Leah's favorite cream of mushroom soup, and her cousin even opened a bottle of Napa Valley red wine he had been saving for years. "Leah, getting into college is a big deal, let's have a drink to celebrate today." Her cousin raised his glass, smiling. Leah felt a little embarrassed, she had never drunk alcohol before. But seeing the expectant looks on her cousin and aunt's faces, she nodded. Her aunt poured a small glass of wine for Leah, then poured a glass of orange juice for Emily. "Kids can't drink alcohol, you have orange juice." Emily pouted but obediently picked up her orange juice glass. At the table, Leah held her wine glass and said to her cousin and his wife, "Uncle, Aunt, thank you for taking care of me all these years. I'll study hard, become a good lawyer, and repay you." Her cousin slammed his glass on the table, his tone serious. "We didn't take you in expecting repayment. Our family isn't rich, but we have enough to eat and drink. You need to study hard for yourself, not for us. At school, learn what you want to learn, find a job you're willing to do in the future, you can even date someone if you get the chance. Don't put pressure on yourself. We'll always have your back." Leah felt warm inside as she listened. She knew her cousin and his wife truly cared about her. Emily pulled a box out of her school bag and handed it to Leah. "Sister, these are stars and paper cranes I folded for you. I wrote a wish for you inside each one. Take them with you when you go to school. When you miss me, throw one up to the sky, and they'll send your thoughts to me." Leah took the box and opened it. It was filled with colorful stars and paper cranes. She hugged the box tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, little sister. I'll keep them safe forever." On the day she left for college, her cousin and his wife drove her to Berkeley. Looking at the academic atmosphere of the campus before her, Leah felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She knew her life was about to start a new chapter. Here, she would pursue her dream of becoming an outstanding legal professional, using the law to help those in need. During her time at Berkeley Law, Leah immersed herself in her studies every day. She not only learned professional knowledge but also joined the student union and a legal aid club, making many like-minded friends. Her professors taught her not only legal expertise, but also the true meaning of the law and the ethics a legal professional should uphold. Leah's resolve grew stronger. She hoped to contribute to California's legal system in the future. She often thought of her cousin and aunt's words and Emily's wishes, all of which became motivation for her to move forward. Chapter 5, A Bolt from the Blue. Half a year later, Leah was in the final stretch of her first semester at Berkeley Law, cramming day and night for her final exams. Her grades had been excellent all semester, and her roommates joked that she would definitely get a scholarship, and might even become a judge at the California Supreme Court someday. Leah was laughing and joking with her roommates when her phone rang. It was her aunt calling. "Mom, why are you calling me now? I'm about to go into the exam room, I'll call you back after the test," Leah said, smiling. But from the other end of the line, all she heard was her aunt's muffled sobbing. "Leah, call me back after your exam." Leah's heart sank. She could hear the unease in her aunt's voice. "Mom, what's wrong? Did something happen? Don't scare me." After Leah pressed her repeatedly, her aunt finally broke down, crying as she spoke. Your sister is gone. Your father, he's in the hospital too." Leah felt as if her head had been hit by a heavy hammer. The world spun around her, and her phone slipped from her hand, the screen shattering into pieces, just like her heart in that moment. "Sister, how could my sister be gone? How could Dad be in the hospital?" Leah muttered, tears flowing uncontrollably. Her roommates noticed something was wrong, and hurried over to ask what had happened. Leah didn't answer, she just ran outside on instinct. She needed to go home, to see her father and sister. Behind her, the criminal law exam room grew farther and farther away, but she didn't care. Her only thought now was to get back to Sacramento as soon as possible, to confirm her father and sister's condition. Leah ran all the way to the taxi stand and rushed to Sacramento General Hospital. Her aunt was sitting on a chair outside the ward, her eyes red and swollen, her face haggard. She had fallen asleep. Leah took off her coat and draped it over her aunt's shoulders, then sat beside her and gently rested her aunt's head on her shoulder. Her aunt woke up, and when she saw Leah, she burst into tears again. "Leah, you're finally back. Your sister, she..." "Mom, where's Dad? How is he?" Leah cut her off, her voice urgent. Just then, a doctor in a white coat walked over, his expression grave. "Are you family members of Mr. Thomas?" Leah and her aunt nodded quickly. "I'm his daughter, and she's his wife." The doctor took out a consent form for surgery. The patient's condition was relatively stable, but when he woke up, he got emotional again. His blood pressure spiked, causing a cerebral hemorrhage. "We managed to prevent it from worsening because he was brought in time, but he needs emergency craniotomy now." "Who will sign the consent form?" When her aunt heard the words cerebral hemorrhage, she froze, standing there staring blankly, unable to speak. Leah took a deep breath. She knew she had to stay calm now, to hold the family together. She took the consent form from the doctor, carefully asked about the potential risks of the surgery and other options, then tremblingly signed her name. After signing, Leah pulled all the cash she had from her bag and tried to push it into the doctor's hand. "Doctor, please, you have to save my father." The doctor hesitated, then finally accepted the money and turned to walk into the operating room. Leah and her aunt sat on the chairs outside the operating room, waiting anxiously. Every second felt like an eternity as time ticked by. Leah held her aunt's hand tightly, reassuring her over and over, "Mom, don't worry, Dad will be okay." After a long time, the light above the operating room door finally went out. The doctor walked out and said to Leah and her aunt, "The surgery was successful. The patient is still under anesthesia, and will wake up soon. He'll need to stay in the ICU for observation for the next 2 days, and once his condition stabilizes, he can be transferred to a regular ward." Leah and her aunt finally let go of the tension they had been holding. Supporting each other, they collapsed onto the chairs, sitting in silence for a long time. Chapter 6: The Desperate Truth. That night, Leah took her aunt back home. Family members weren't allowed to visit the ICU, so there was no point in staying at the hospital. Her aunt had no appetite, so Leah made her a bowl of millet porridge. They sat at the dining table, eating silently, the air so still it felt suffocating. Leah couldn't stand the silence any longer. Trying to sound casual, she asked, "Mom, where's Emily? Did you send her to a relative's house?" Her aunt didn't speak, she just kept her head down, spooning porridge into her mouth. "It's probably for the best that Emily isn't here while Dad's in the hospital. She's always been so timid, she might get scared." Leah continued, "I even bought her that Disney hairband she's been wanting. Unfortunately, I was in such a hurry to come back that I forgot to bring it. Emily was asking me if I had a boyfriend the other day, and she talked about that Hollywood star she likes." Leah rambled on, trying to convince herself. She didn't want to believe the news that Emily was gone. After dinner, her aunt took Leah back to the hospital, straight to the basement. As Leah looked at the mortuary in front of her, a sense of foreboding washed over her. "Go in and say goodbye to your sister." Her aunt's voice was calm, but it carried a tone of despair. Leah followed her aunt into the mortuary. A staff member led them to a body covered with a white sheet. Leah reached out tremblingly, wanting to pull back the sheet, but her aunt stopped her. "You don't have to look. I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it. I need to see my sister." Leah's voice was firm. She pushed her aunt's hand away and pulled back the sheet. When she saw Emily's face, Leah closed her eyes in despair. The innocent smile that had always lit up Emily's face was gone, replaced by fear and hopelessness. Her body was covered in bruises and purple marks, her fingers were worn raw, her nails torn off, and dirt was embedded in her wounds. How much pain must this have caused? Leah whispered. She gently reached out to take Emily's hand, wanting to touch her wounds, but she didn't dare. Emily had always cried even when she fell down. How much suffering must she have endured from these terrible injuries? Her aunt looked at Leah and suddenly spoke. She was still alive then. Leah looked up sharply at her aunt by marriage and said, "What did you say?" The police said, "They dug her out of the dirt. She was still alive when they buried her." Her aunt's voice was flat, but it cut into Leah's heart like a knife. The wounds on her hands, she made them digging with her bare hands after she woke up underground. Leah felt as if her head was about to explode. All the strength drained from her body, and she had to bend over, pressing her forehead against Emily's hand. "Sister, I'm back. Open your eyes and look at me." But Emily would never open her eyes again. She would never call her sister again. Leah stood up and walked out without looking back. She was going to find the killer. She was going to avenge her sister. Chapter 7: The Helplessness of the Law. Leah went straight to the homicide unit of the Sacramento Police Department. As soon as she walked in, she asked where the killers were. The police knew who she was, and they knew how heinous the crime had been. They looked at her with sympathy. The killers are three 13-year-old boys. According to California law, minors under the age of 14 aren't held criminally responsible for their crimes. They can only be sent to a juvenile detention center for rehabilitation. The leading officer hesitated, then told Leah the truth. Minors can just kill people without consequences. Leah shouted, her voice trembling with anger. "My sister was so young, she was only 10 years old. How could they be so cruel?" The policeman sighed helplessly. "We're trying our best to gather evidence to get them held in the detention center longer, but the law is the law. There's nothing we can do." Leah was a student at Berkeley Law. She knew California's laws better than anyone. But precisely because she knew them, she felt even more angry and powerless. The law she had always believed in couldn't even avenge her sister. "I want to see them." Leah calmed down. She wanted to see what kind of people could do such terrible things to a 10-year-old girl. The police took Leah to the visiting room of the juvenile detention center, where she saw the three boys. They looked no different from ordinary children, still childish in their faces, yet their eyes were filled with a viciousness and impatience that belied their age. "Who are you? Spit it out, what do you want?" one of the boys said rudely. "Did you kill my sister?" Leah stared at them, every word sharp. "So you're that little bitch's sister? No wonder you're just as annoying." The leader of the boys sneered. Leah couldn't hold back any longer. She lunged at the boy, attacking him like a wild animal that had lost its mind. The three boys were younger, but they were stronger than Leah, but Leah fought with a reckless, desperate fury that stunned them. The police hurried to pull Leah away, but she still struggled to lunge forward. It wasn't until she bit down on the leader's throat that the police managed to yank her back. "That's enough." The policeman frowned. Leah was detained in another room. It wasn't until the next morning, when her aunt received the news, that she was able to take Leah home. Looking at the injuries on Leah's body, her aunt gently applied medicine to her wounds. When she finished, she suddenly slapped Leah across the face. "Your sister is already gone. If something happens to you too, how do you think your father and I will go on living?" Leah didn't cry. She knew her aunt was doing this for her own good. But when she thought of Emily, tears still streamed down her face. "Mom, my sister will never come back." Her aunt hugged Leah, and mother and daughter cried together. Chapter 8: The Devil's Provocation. A few days later, Uncle was transferred to a regular ward, and was recovering quite well, though he was left with sequelae, and might need a cane to walk in the future. Leah and Aunt tacitly avoided mentioning Emily, fearing that Uncle would become emotionally agitated. Leah went to the police station several times on her own. The police told her that the other two boys would likely be released from the juvenile detention center in 6 months, because they had pleaded guilty and shown remorse. As for Colin, the ringleader, his family had actually obtained a diagnosis certificate for a mental illness, and he had already been released on medical parole to recover at home. When Leah heard this news, she trembled with anger. She wanted to rush to Colin's house and tear him to pieces, but she thought of her uncle and aunt, and their hopes for her. She forced herself to hold back. One day, Leah went to the hospital to complete the paperwork for her uncle's discharge. In the corridor, she saw a familiar figure, Colin. Leah rushed over and grabbed him. "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in juvenile detention. Did you escape?" Colin wrenched his hand free, his tone arrogant. "Who escaped? I was legally released on medical parole. Let me tell you, I'm mentally ill now. Even if I kill you, it's not a crime." Leah looked at Colin's disgusting expression. He didn't look like a teenager at all, he was just like a gangster. "Don't get too cocky." Leah ground her teeth. Colin reached out and patted Leah's cheek. "So what if I am? What are you going to do about it? You're actually pretty good looking. If you sleep with me for a couple of days, I might consider letting you off the hook." "Go to hell." Leah couldn't hold back any longer. She lifted her foot and kicked him hard between the legs. Colin fell to the ground, clutching his crotch in pain, his body curled up like a shrimp. Leah hesitated for a moment, then turned and walked back to the ward. She knew she couldn't cause any more trouble. She needed to protect her uncle and aunt. But Colin had no intention of letting her go. That afternoon, Colin showed up with several men who looked like gang members. They kicked open the door to her uncle's ward. "Smash everything!" Colin shouted. The men rushed into the ward, destroying everything in their path, yelling obscenities as they went. A passing nurse tried to stop them, but their fierce glares scared her away. Colin pulled up a stool and sat beside her uncle's bed, a malicious smile on his face. "Let me tell you, your daughter was so desperate when she begged me. She said she wouldn't call the police, because her parents and sister were waiting for her at home." Her aunt covered her mouth, sobbing too hard to speak. Her uncle's face turned purple. He clutched his chest, struggling to breathe, but he still pulled Leah and her aunt behind him to protect them. Leah hugged her uncle from behind, rubbing his chest gently, terrified that he wouldn't be able to bear it. Colin looked at the miserable state of their family, and his excitement grew even more. "Do you know?" When she realized she was definitely going to die, the desperate look on her face, "We really should have recorded it to show you." Leah felt sick to her stomach. Her uncle swayed, most of his weight leaning on Leah. She knew he was about to faint, so she quickly laid him flat on the bed. Then, Leah turned around and knelt down in front of Colin, kowtowing repeatedly, "Please, stop talking. I beg you." But Colin just looked at her with a ferocious grin. "I'm going to destroy all of you. You still dared to call the police. I just killed a little girl, and now I can't even go to school. I have a criminal record, and my whole life is ruined. And you even dared to hit me. Let me tell you, I'm still a minor, and I'm mentally ill. One of these days, I'll take a knife and kill all of you, sending you down to meet your sister." Just then, a woman walked in. It must have been Colin's mother. She scolded Colin. "Do you have to cause trouble at a time like this? Can't you just behave?" Then she tossed a perfunctory sorry at Leah's family, threw a stack of dollar bills on the floor, and dragged Colin away. Leah collapsed to the ground, staring at the scattered money. Her heart was filled with humiliation and anger. The world was so absurd. All they had wanted was to live a peaceful life, but even that had become a luxury. The faith in Leah's heart crumbled completely. She knew she couldn't rely on the law anymore. She would avenge her sister with her own hands. Chapter 9: The Revenge Plan. Because of the emotional shock, her uncle had to stay in the hospital for another week before he could go home. When they got back, looking at the familiar rooms, the family fell into silence again. Her aunt was the first to start crying. Her uncle tried to say something, but his voice cracked with tears. Leah took out a photo of Emily and placed it on the table. "Sister is watching us. We can't let her down. Finally, the family wiped away their tears and took turns telling Emily's photo that they were safe. Later, the police told Leah that Colin had been confirmed to have a mental illness and was unable to care for himself, so he would remain on medical parole. The other two boys, Noah and Ethan, would also be released from the juvenile detention center soon for various reasons. The police also said that the three boys' families were willing to pay a large sum of compensation, as long as Leah's family agreed to write a letter of understanding. They could name any price. Leah laughed, then I'll ask for a lot. A few days later, Leah received $5 million in compensation, about $1.7 million from each family. She handed the bank card to her uncle and aunt, but they told her to keep it. Her uncle also took out another bank card and pressed it into her hand. This is the money your aunt and I saved for you and Emily for college tuition and a dowry. Now it's all yours. Learn to manage it wisely. Leah held the two bank cards tightly, her heart filled with gratitude. She knew her uncle and aunt truly saw her as their own daughter. On Christmas, a big feast was laid out on the table, with 4 sets of tableware. Her uncle sat at the table, drinking alone. Leah quickly took the wine glass from him. Dad, the doctor said you can't drink. Her uncle forced a smile and didn't speak. After Christmas, it was time for school to start again. Leah said goodbye to her uncle and aunt and boarded the high-speed train back to Berkeley. But she got off at Oakland Station. She knew Colin wouldn't let her or her family go. She had to strike first. Leah changed her clothes in a public restroom, then took an intercity bus back to Sacramento. While she was at school, she had asked for help from an upperclassman named Sophia, who ran a law firm in Sacramento and knew many people in the area. Leah contacted Sophia and asked her to help find Colin's whereabouts. Sophia told Leah that although Colin was on medical parole and wasn't allowed to move around freely, only permitted to go to his home, the hospital, and a few other court-approved locations, he occasionally snuck up to throw parties at his family's villa in Napa Valley. Leah rented a room in a small hotel near Colin's family's villa. While Colin was away, she snuck into the villa to familiarize herself with the layout of the house. For the next few days, she watched the villa from the hotel across the street, but Colin never showed up. Leah grew anxious. The start of school was approaching. In 2 days, if her teachers noticed she hadn't returned, they would definitely call her uncle and aunt, and they would stop her. Just as Leah was about to go downstairs to buy something to eat, she opened her hotel room door. In an instant, a figure pushed the door open forcefully, and several men rushed in, pinning her to the ground. Leah struggled to turn her head toward the knife on the table, but it was too far away. Then, a sharp pain exploded in the back of her head, and she lost consciousness. Chapter 10, A Desperate Counterattack. When Leah woke up, she found herself in an abandoned warehouse, tied to a chair. In front of her was Colin's devilish face. Did you really think my family's villa doesn't have security cameras? Colin said, a lewd smile on his face. The hotel you're staying in is also owned by my family. I know everything you've been doing. Leah ground her teeth and said nothing. Colin felt uneasy under her gaze. He punched Leah in the face. I thought you were tough. Why aren't you talking now? Colin punched her again and again, his fist slamming into her face until her face was covered in blood. Leah forced her swollen eyes, now just slits, to stay open. When Colin leaned in closer, she spat a mouthful of blood and saliva in his face. Colin wiped his face, but instead of getting angry, he laughed. I like you like this. Your sister was boring, she just begged me not to kill her over and over. As he spoke, Colin started tearing at Leah's clothes. Leah knew she couldn't just sit there and wait for death. She had to avenge herself, and avenge her sister. Leah deliberately shouted at the 2 men standing behind Colin, come on, why don't you two join in? Don't just stand there watching. Or are you cowards? Colin turned to look at the 2 men, frowning. He said to them, get out first. You can come back after I'm done with her. The two men hesitated for a moment, then walked out. To make it easier to tear off Leah's clothes, Colin confidently untied the ropes binding her. Without the ropes holding her up, Leah collapsed to the ground. Colin grew even more excited. He tore off Leah's clothes in a few rough movements, then pounced on her. Just as Colin propped himself up with one hand, and let the other wander over Leah's body, Leah suddenly swung her right hand, which she had been holding near her head, forward. Hidden in her hand was a small blade, which she sliced deeply across Colin's neck. Colin stared in horror, clutching his neck as blood gushed out between his fingers. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Blood flooded his windpipe, and he thrashed around weakly, like a fish out of water. Leah lay on the ground, watching Colin, her voice filled with wild mockery, "So even minors with mental illnesses can die. I thought you were invincible. Did you really think I didn't know your family's villa had security cameras? I wanted to stir things up, to make you bring me to this desolate place. This is where you'll be buried." Gradually, Colin's body stopped moving. He was dead. Leah lay on the ground, too weak to get up. She knew Colin's men would be back soon, and she might not be able to escape. But she had no regrets. She had avenged her sister. Chapter 11: Help from the Upperclassmen. The warehouse door was pushed open, and sunlight streamed in. Through her blurred vision, Leah thought she saw her uncle's figure. She thought she was hallucinating, but the next moment, her uncle picked her up in his arms. "My daughter, don't be afraid. Dad's here to save you." Her uncle's voice was weak, but it was filled with strength. Only then did Leah realize that when she had gone to Sophia to ask about Colin's whereabouts, Sophia had sensed something was wrong and told her uncle. Her uncle had been lingering near Colin's family's villa every day. When he saw Leah being abducted, he had followed them all the way here, and called Sophia for help. Although her uncle hadn't fully recovered, he had summoned all his strength to save Leah. He had taken down the two men guarding the door and rescued her. When Leah woke up again, she was in the hospital. Her aunt was lying asleep beside her bed, and her uncle was sitting in a chair nearby, his eyes filled with worry. Sophia was also in the room. "Sophia, thank you," Leah said weakly. Sophia smiled, "You don't need to thank me. Thank your dad, he risked his life to save you." Sophia told Leah that Colin was dead. The reason Leah hadn't been arrested by the police was because Sophia had taken care of everything. Sophia had found evidence that Colin's family had bribed the police, and she had threatened them. If they called the police, she would expose everything to the California state government, and the corrupt police officers would be the first to suffer. Additionally, Sophia had used part of the compensation money Leah had received, $2 million, to pay Colin's family, making them drop the matter. Leah felt overwhelmed with gratitude as she listened. She knew Sophia had sacrificed a lot to help her. "Sophia, I want to learn from you in the future. I want to seek justice for more people like my sister," Leah said seriously. Sophia nodded, "Good. But first, you need to go back to school and study hard. If you get an A in every class, I'll take you as my apprentice." Leah smiled and agreed. She knew her life still had a long way to go. She would carry Emily's hopes, live well, and use her own strength to help more people in need. Chapter 12: The Trial of Justice. In the days that followed, Leah returned to school and studied hard, still maintaining her top grades. Every holiday, she went back to Sacramento to intern at Sophia's law firm. She learned to handle all kinds of cases with Sophia, gaining a deeper understanding of the complexity of the law and the cruelty of reality. Sophia's firm didn't just handle commercial cases, it also took on many pro bono lawsuits, helping ordinary people. During her internship, Leah saw many people who had suffered misfortunes like her own. Her resolve grew even stronger. She would become an outstanding lawyer, speaking up for vulnerable groups. In her third year of college, Sophia called Leah. "Noah and Ethan are being released from the juvenile detention center." Leah hung up the phone, picked up the photo of Emily on her desk, and gently wiped it. "Sister, I'll seek justice for you." Leah returned to Sacramento and began investigating Noah and Ethan's situations. After being released from the detention center, Noah didn't go back to school. Instead, he started hanging out with a so-called gang leader and got involved in loan sharking. Ethan's parents planned to take him to Canada to start over. Through Sophia's connections, Leah got in touch with Noah's boss and set a trap for him. She asked the boss to introduce Noah to a deadbeat who needed a loan. Noah thought he had found a big client and was overjoyed, unaware that he had walked right into a trap. A week later, the deadbeat not only refused to repay the money but also beat Noah up. Noah's boss and the casino owner pressured Noah to repay the debt, threatening to cut off his hands if he didn't. Noah had no money, so he started stealing his family's savings and even forced his father to sell their house. But even that wasn't enough to pay off the debt. When Noah's father scolded him, Noah flew into a rage and beat his father, causing his father to have a heart attack and die. When Noah's mother tried to call an ambulance, Noah killed her too. Leah had someone follow Noah and film everything. She submitted the evidence of Noah's murder to the police. This time, Noah was 15 years old. According to California law, minors over the age of 14 who commit serious crimes can be tried as adults. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. After dealing with Noah, Leah turned her attention to Ethan. Sophia helped Leah contact various media outlets, and they reported the full details of the case, sparking a heated discussion online. At the same time, Sophia filed an appeal against the original verdict, arguing that Ethan's mental illness diagnosis was fake, and that he should not have been sent to a juvenile detention center. He should have been tried for his crimes. Under the pressure of public opinion, the Sacramento police and courts reopened the investigation and confirmed that Ethan's mental illness diagnosis was fraudulent. Ethan was arrested again. Since he had been over 13 years old when he committed the crime, and the circumstances were particularly heinous, he was tried as an adult. In the end, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His parents tried to use their connections to get him released, but the media exposed their actions, and the Sacramento police chief was dismissed as a result. Later, Ethan's parents disappeared. Some said they had been retaliated against by gang members, others said they had fled with the remaining money. As for Ethan, he suffered immense suffering every day in prison. Finally, he had paid the price for his actions. Chapter 13, A New Beginning. Leah stood in front of Emily's grave, telling her about Noah and Ethan's fates. "Sister, you can rest in peace now." Justice was late, but it finally came. A gentle breeze blew by, carrying the scent of Napa Valley's vineyards, as if Emily was responding. Leah seemed to hear Emily's voice. "Sister, I'm proud of you." Leah wiped away her tears and turned to leave the cemetery. She knew, her path of revenge had ended, but her life was still going on. She would carry Emily's hopes, live well, and use her own strength to help more people in need, making the world a better place. When she returned to school, Leah studied even harder. She didn't just focus on her professional knowledge, she also worked to improve her abilities. She believed that as long as she became strong enough, she could protect more children like Emily, shielding them from harm. On her graduation day, Leah received a gift from Sophia, a lawyer's badge issued by the State Bar of California. Sophia smiled and said, "Welcome to the team. From now on, we'll fight for justice together." Leah took the badge and pinned it to her chest, her eyes firm. She knew this was a new beginning. She would spend her life upholding the justice of the law and protecting those in need. In the years that followed, Leah became an outstanding lawyer. She handled many pro bono cases and helped countless vulnerable people. She often thought of Emily, her uncle and aunt, and Sophia. They were the ones who had helped her find light in the darkness, giving her the strength to move forward. Leah knew, her life still had a long way to go. But she was no longer afraid, because she knew, she wasn't fighting alone. Carrying the hopes of everyone who loved her and everyone she loved, she would move forward bravely, creating a wonderful life of her own.